Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The Whitmore Manor, perched atop a verdant hill, exuded opulence. Solid oak doors opened onto a hall adorned with crystal chandeliers and Persian carpets that muffled every step. But despite this wealth, a sense of unease hung in the air. In the kitchen, the executive chef, a man with graying temples named Gordon, was busy at work. The dishes he prepared were works of art, delicate sauces, perfectly cooked meats, desserts worthy of a palace. Yet, each dish seemed to disappear in the disdain of the young Whitmore heirs. Too sweet, too bland. "I don't like it," cried Emily, the 7-year-old younger sister, pushing her plate away. Her older brother, Jacob, nodded with a bored grimace. Gordon grimaced, his ego bruised. 10 years of his career, only to find himself unable to satisfy these two fussy children. It was then that a new waitress, Lily, entered timidly. Dressed in a simple uniform and with slightly trembling hands, she observed the scene. Unlike Gordon, she knew nothing about sophisticated sauces or presentation techniques. But she had something more precious, a genuine intuition and a caring heart. "Hello, children," she said, kneeling down to be at their level. Her smile was warm, her voice soft but full of life. She took out a simple plate, prepared with simple but fresh ingredients, and placed it in front of Emily. Emily sniffed, intrigued, then tasted it. Her eyes lit up. It's delicious," she exclaimed, and Jacob did the same. For the first time, a meal brought genuine smiles to everyone around the table. Gordon, speechless, couldn't understand. How had a modest waitress, without degrees or prestigious experience, succeeded where he had failed? Lily, for her part, shrugged with a small smile. "Sometimes, you just have to listen to what children really like." On that day, Whitmore Manor discovered that wealth and prestige are not always enough to create magic, and that sometimes, it is simplicity and sincerity that touch the heart most deeply. Whitmore Manor dominated the valley like a castle from an unattainable dream. The pristine walls reflected the morning light, while silver fountains sang softly in the perfectly manicured garden. But despite this beauty, a palpable tension hung within. Richard Whitmore, the patriarch, a millionaire since his youth thanks to bold investments, was used to everything going his way. Yet today, he was furious. His two children, Jacob and Emily, refused to eat what his chef had meticulously prepared. In the kitchen, Gordon, the renowned chef, was fuming. His hands trembled slightly as he adjusted a final sauce on a plate of herb-crusted veal. Every dish he served was a work of art, worthy of the finest restaurants. But the Whitmore children were merciless judges. "Trop fade. Jacob creates." "Too sweet," added Emily, pushing her dessert away. Richard sighed. He had spent a fortune hiring the best chef, but it was no use. The heavy silence of the dining room had become an irrefutable judgment. It was then that Lily, a young waitress from the neighboring town, entered timidly. Her outfit was simple, almost modest, but her eyes shone with a rare curiosity and warmth. She had been hired for the summer, and no one expected her to do anything extraordinary. "Hello, children," she said with a genuine smile. She placed a colorful plate in front of Emily, fresh vegetables, a lightly browned chicken fillet, accompanied by a small dollop of homemade mashed potatoes. Emily looked up, intrigued. She took a bite, and her eyes widened. "This is delicious," she exclaimed. Jacob took a bite in turn and smiled broadly. In the kitchen, Gordon stood speechless, unable to understand. How had this young waitress, without training, without complex techniques, succeeded where he had failed? Lily shrugged slightly, smiling gently. "Sometimes it's not about technique or luxury, it's just about listening to what people truly love." Richard watched the scene in astonishment. Perhaps this simple waitress had just reminded him of a forgotten truth: wealth and prestige do not guarantee happiness, especially when it comes to the hearts of children. After lunch, the manor returned to its calm, but the atmosphere remained charged with curiosity and mystery. Richard, intrigued by Lily's impact on his children, decided to invite her to stay for a few moments in the drawing room. Lily, slightly intimidated by the size of the room, walked carefully across the thick carpets. The portraits of the Whitmore ancestors seemed to scrutinize her, but she didn't let her nervousness show. "You have real talent, Lily," said Richard with a rare smile. "I've never seen children react like that, not even to the best chefs in the country." Lily blushed slightly. I believe every child is different, sir. You just have to know how to listen to what they like." Richard nodded thoughtfully. His children, so capricious and difficult to please, seemed to have found an unexpected ally in her. But beyond the kitchen, Richard wondered why this simple waitress caused such an effect. Little by little, Lily began to notice disturbing details in the manner. The servants whispered as she passed, some staring at her suspiciously, others curiously. There were locked rooms, doors she was told not to open. The manor, despite its beauty, was hiding something. While she was helping Emily put away her plate, the little girl began to speak with touching candor. "Lily, can you stay with us tomorrow? Nobody understands us like you do." Jacob, sitting next to her, nodded shyly. "Yes, you're the only one who really listens to us." Richard watched the scene unfold and felt his heart sink. He knew his children had never had a real relationship with an adult who understood them. His gaze fell on Lily, and an idea began to take root in his mind. Perhaps this waitress could offer more than just a meal, she could bring the family closer together. But Whitmore Manor had its secrets. And soon, Lily would discover that behind the luxury and perfect smiles lay a truth that would change everything for her, and for the children. The following morning, Whitmore Manor awoke to a golden light. Sunlight streamed through the immense bay windows, illuminating the sumptuously decorated rooms. Yet, behind this apparent beauty, an invisible tension still lingered. Upon her arrival, Lily was greeted by Emily's laughter and Jacob's shy smile. The children already seemed to have developed a bond of trust with her. For the first time in a long time, they didn't feel judged or pressured to pretend. As she prepared breakfast, Lily noticed the children's strange little habits. Emily, always meticulously organized, arranged the utensils in a precise order. Jacob, on the other hand, observed the world with silent mistrust. Lily realized they had been raised in an environment where wealth took precedence over affection. Richard, though busy with his meetings and business, regularly glanced towards the living room where Lily was looking after the children. He was beginning to understand that her presence did more than nourish their bodies, it also nourished their minds and hearts. But it wasn't all simple. Gordon, the chef, felt a mixture of jealousy and wounded pride. He couldn't accept that a mere waitress, without a degree or experience, had become the center of the children's attention. His silent resentment manifested itself in acidic remarks and slightly botched dishes, as if to test the children's loyalty to Lily. One afternoon, while Lily was playing with Emily in the garden, the little girl whispered, "Lily, Dad and Mom never really talk about us. It's like we're alone even when they're here." This confession made Lily's heart beat faster. She understood that her role went beyond that of a simple temporary nanny. She had to protect these children, offer them refuge, and perhaps help them rebuild the lost bonds with their father. Richard, observing the scene from his office window, felt a pang of guilt. He had worked all his life to accumulate wealth, but he had almost forgotten what really mattered, the love and attention given to those one loves. That day, Lily realized she wasn't just a waitress, she was becoming the invisible thread that could unite a broken family, even if the challenges and secrets of the Whitmore mansion promised not to make that task easy. A few days later, as Whitmore Manor awoke under a gray and threatening sky, Lily noticed something strange. While tidying the library for Emily, she glimpsed a door discreetly hidden behind a shelf. The handle was adorned with ancient motifs, almost forgotten by time. Lily's curiosity overcame her caution. She gently tried the door, it was locked. Her instinct told her that this room held an important secret. She then decided to ask Richard, who happened to be passing by in the corridor. "Mr. Whitmore, what is this door?" Lily asked cautiously. Richard paled slightly. "Oh, it's nothing, just an old room I keep closed." His voice was strained, too strained to be natural. This reaction piqued Lily's curiosity even more. She knew that something in this manner went beyond mere meals or children's whims. The servants also seemed to avoid this area, their glances betraying a mixture of fear and respect. Later that day, while playing with Emily in the garden, the little girl confided, "Lily, you know. Mommy left a long time ago. Daddy never talks about her. But sometimes, I hear her crying at night." Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. She understood that the mansion, with its luxury and apparent perfection, concealed deep wounds and unspoken pain. The children had grown up in the shadow of a past that Richard seemed unable to confront. That night, Lily fell asleep thinking. She knew she couldn't just comfort the children with delicious food or games. She had to uncover the secrets of this house, understand the truth about their family, and protect Jacob and Emily from the silent suffering that surrounded them. Whitmore Manor wasn't just a place of wealth, it was a labyrinth of secrets, regrets, and unspoken truths. And Lily, a simple waitress from another world, was about to become the one who could uncover what had been hidden for far too long. The next day, the sky was covered with heavy clouds, and a light, driving rain was falling on Whitmore Manor. Despite the dampness, Lily decided to spend some time in Richard's study under the pretext of helping to organize some papers for the children. As she swept the floor with her hand, she noticed a small notebook tucked behind a desk drawer. The cover was worn, and the leather bore the marks of time. Intrigued, she discreetly opened it. Inside were old letters and notes, all written in the handwriting of Margaret Whitmore, Richard's former wife. Lily felt her heart sink. The letters revealed a loving but unhappy woman whose warnings and fears had been ignored. Margaret wrote about the pressure of raising children in an environment where money trumped emotions, about her attempts to protect Jacob and Emily, and about her sadness over a distant, workaholic husband. This discovery shook Lily. She understood that Richard's coldness and silence towards his children were not just a matter of character, he was a prisoner of his own regrets, his past mistakes, and Margaret's pain. Later that day, while serving the children their afternoon snack, Emily asked her, "Lily, did Mommy really love us?" Lily knelt before her and gently took her hand. "Yes, Emily. She loved you with all her heart. And even though she's no longer here, her love remains with you." Jacob silently watched Lily. For the first time, his eyes betrayed a sincere emotion. He had long hidden his feelings behind a facade of coldness, but he seemed to understand that Lily was not just a passing adult, she had become a confidant and a precious ally. However, Richard, observing this scene from his office window, felt a strange unease. Lily had entered a world he thought was secret, and her curiosity might well uncover truths that some were not ready to face. The poor waitress had just discovered the shadows of the Whitmore's past, and soon, those shadows would spread to reveal even heavier and more upsetting secrets. A few days later, Whitmore Manor seemed to exude a fragile calm. But beneath this apparent tranquility, tensions were simmering. Richard, aware that Lily had uncovered fragments of his family's past, felt both grateful and threatened. That morning, Jacob was particularly rebellious. He refused to eat lunch, slamming the dining room door behind him. Emily, worried, followed her brother, while Lily ran after them, trying to understand the reason for this sudden anger. "What's going on, Jacob?" she asked softly, careful not to raise her voice. Jacob looked away, frustrated. "You don't understand. Dad never really cares about us. And now you know things about Mom that you shouldn't." Lily felt her heart clench. She knew she had to be careful, but she couldn't ignore Jacob's pain. "Jacob. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to help you and Emily. I want you to be happy." Meanwhile, Richard, alerted by the commotion, rushed downstairs. Seeing Lily facing Jacob, he understood that the situation went far beyond a simple children's conflict. "Jacob, I'm sorry. I never meant for you to feel alone," Richard murmured, his voice trembling. "I worked too hard, I made mistakes, but I want to make it right." Richard's words, though sincere, seemed almost foreign to the children. Emily wept softly, while Jacob, still wary, took a step back. Lily gently stepped in, taking Jacob's hand and squeezing it softly. "Dad, you should listen to how we feel, not how you think we should feel," Emily said bravely. This moment was a turning point. Richard, touched by his children's honesty and maturity, understood that love cannot be commanded by money or authority. And Lily, through her patience and courage, had succeeded in building a bridge between them. But this fragile balance was disrupted by an unexpected event. Gordon, the chef, burst into the room, furious. "Mr. Whitmore. That waitress, she dares." Richard raised his hand to silence him. He knew that the tensions were now much deeper than the simple jealousy of a leader. The Whitmore mansion, with all its riches and secrets, was beginning to reveal its true fractures. And Lily, at the center of this storm, would have to choose, remain a spectator or become the one who could finally heal a broken family. One autumn morning, as the wind made the red and gold leaves dance around Whitmore Manor, a black car parked in front of the entrance. Lily, who was feeding Emily and Jacob, looked up and noticed the imposing figure of the guest. It was Charles Morgan, an influential businessman and old friend of Richard's. But his arrival was not merely a social one. He carried an official letter in his hand and wore a look of gravity. "Richard, we need to talk," Charles said as soon as he entered the living room. His tone left no room for discussion. "There are unresolved matters that could threaten everything you've built." Richard felt his stomach clench. His financial secrets, which he thought were well protected, were at risk of being revealed. But even more worrying, Charles fixed the children with a piercing gaze. Lily felt a chill run down her spine. Something about this man's attitude boded ill. Sensing the tension, Emily clung to Lily. "Who is it?" she whispered, worried. Lily gently stroked his hair. "A friend of your dad's, but it seems we need to be careful." The meeting in the office began. Charles laid out some troubling facts: risky investments, significant debts, and poorly secured contracts. Richard, despite his apparent success, was vulnerable. And the impact on his family could be devastating. Meanwhile, Lily watched the children. Jacob, usually so reserved, showed unexpected determination. "Dad, we can help you." His words were simple, but carried a courage rare for his age. Emily nodded silently, her eyes shining with hope. Richard, moved by their maturity, understood that true wealth was not money, but the unity and support of his family. He took Lily's hand, a gesture of silent gratitude. She had brought the children closer to him, preparing the ground to face this crisis. But the situation remained precarious. As Charles left the manor, he left behind a clear warning: "You don't have much time left, Richard. Everything could collapse if you don't make the right decisions." As the door closed, Lily looked at the children and said softly, "No matter what happens, we will stay united. Together, we can overcome anything, even the storms of the past and the dangers of the present." And in Whitmore Manor, a new wind began to blow, that of change, solidarity, and the revelation of long-hidden truths. A few days after Charles Morgan's arrival, the Whitmore mansion seemed even more tense. Lily, while continuing to look after the children, couldn't get the locked library door out of her mind. That door, which she had glimpsed upon his arrival, now seemed to demand her attention. One afternoon, while Richard was busy in his office and the children were playing in the garden, Lily decided to try her luck. She had found a small set of old keys in a forgotten kitchen drawer. Her heart pounded as she slipped the key into the lock and heard the click that sent a shiver down her spine. The door opened onto a dark, dusty room. The walls were covered with old portraits, some of unknown women, others of stern, imposing faces. In the center of the room, a solid wood chest caught her eye. Lily approached it, trembling, and opened it. Inside were letters, photographs, and old documents revealing secrets of the Whitmore family, dubious financial alliances, disputes over inheritance, and Margaret's diary, revealing unsuspected tensions with Richard, regrets, and painful truths about his disappearance. Lily felt tears welling up in her eyes. These revelations explained so much: the children's coldness, Richard's silences, and the atmosphere of constant tension in the manor. This heavy past weighed on each of them, far more than anyone wanted to admit. As she closed the trunk, Emily rushed in. "Lily, what are you doing here?" she asked, a mixture of curiosity and fear in her voice. Lily knelt down to be at her level. "I wanted to understand why you are sometimes sad or angry. And I think I've found some answers." Jacob arrived in turn, silent but attentive. "What did you find?" he asked, his eyes wide open. Lily smiled gently, despite the emotion that gripped her. "Secrets of the past, but what matters is not remaining prisoners of those secrets. What matters is what we do now. Together, we can change things." At that precise moment, a new determination took root in the children's hearts. Lily had just shown them that they were no longer alone in facing the shadows of the past. Whitmore Manor, with all its secrets and mysteries, was finally about to begin its transformation, thanks to a simple waitress with a courageous heart. Rain was pouring down that morning on Whitmore Manor, making the vast gardens even more silent and mysterious. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Lily, accompanied by Jacob and Emily, had decided it was time to confront Richard with the secrets of the past she had uncovered. "Dad," Emily began, her voice trembling but determined. "We found Mom's diary, and other documents." Richard felt his heart clench. He knew this day would come, but he wasn't prepared for the raw emotion that would follow. I can explain everything," he stammered, unable to hide the guilt that had been eating away at him for years. Lily spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Richard, this isn't to blame you. It's so we can finally understand. The children need to know the truth, and so do you." Richard sat heavily in his armchair, his eyes downcast. He finally recounted what Margaret had been through, his own mistakes, and the pressures that had led him to neglect his children's love. He spoke of regrets, remorse, and missed opportunities to mend the bond with Jacob and Emily. Listening to every word, the children began to understand the complexity of the situation. Anger and sadness mingled with a new feeling, hope. Jacob, usually so reserved, took his father's hand. "Dad, I understand better now. But you have to show us that you're there for us. Not just with words, but with actions." Emily nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "Yes, we want to feel that you truly love us." Richard felt a lump form in his throat. For the first time in years, he understood that his wealth and power were powerless against love and sincerity. He bent down and hugged his children, a simple gesture but one full of promise. Lily, in the background, observed the scene with a discreet smile. Her role went far beyond that of a waitress or a confidant. She had become the catalyst for this family's healing, bringing light and warmth to where secrets had long reigned. But just as a new calm seemed to settle in, a muffled noise from outside caught their attention. Charles Morgan, the businessman, was back, and his face announced that the challenges were not yet over. The autumn sun had barely pierced the clouds when Charles Morgan appeared in the hall of Whitmore Manor. His face was stern, his eyes determined. He held a stack of documents, proof that Richard's affairs were not yet settled. "Richard," he said firmly, "your debts and investments could bring everything down. If you don't sort this out quickly, your fortune, and your family, will be in danger." Richard felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. Years of success seemed to vanish before this sudden threat. But beside him, Lily placed a reassuring hand on his. The children, though nervous, were there too, showing their silent but powerful support. "Charles," replied Richard, his voice more assured than he would have thought, "I'm not afraid anymore. We'll face this together." Lily spoke up, "Strength doesn't lie solely in money or contracts, Charles. It lies in the unity of a loving family." Surprised, Charles stepped back slightly. He hadn't expected to find such determination and solidarity among the Whitmores. With Lily's help, Richard and his children devised a plan to secure their assets and face the financial challenges. Each step was carefully orchestrated, but above all, it was based on honest communication and a renewed sense of trust. As the day progressed, tensions eased. The children saw their father act not only as a business leader, but also as a caring and loving father. Richard understood that his true wealth lay not in his bank accounts, but in the family around him. As evening fell on Whitmore Manor, a new calm settled in. The children laughed in the living room. Emily proudly showed Lily her drawing of the manor with "Happy Mom and Dad," while Jacob, for the first time, sat next to his father to talk about his day. Richard took Lily aside and whispered, "Without you, I would never have known how to fix all this. You saved more than a meal, you saved my family." Lily smiled gently, her heart filled with warmth. Sometimes, all you need to do is listen to and believe in those you love. And so, in the Whitmore mansion, secrets, regrets, and tensions gave way to understanding, love, and redemption. A simple waitress had changed this family's life forever, proving that the true miracle lies not in money, but in courage, sincerity, and the unbreakable bond between hearts.